Every single night, 50 million Americans wake up to use the restroom, not just once, but 2, 3, sometimes 5 times a night. And here is the brutal truth that nobody is telling you at your regular medical appointments. In 80% of those cases, your bladder is completely healthy. It is not the problem. All those expensive supplements, the herbal extracts, and the medications you have been taking for your pelvic health are aimed at the wrong organ entirely. Welcome. If you want the truth about your health, subscribe to Dr. Isaac right now and hit that like button. It takes exactly 5 seconds. We are building a community of proactive individuals, and this channel is founded on one unshakable principle. The modern system profits when you stay managing symptoms, not when you actually heal. What I am about to share with you today is a physiological secret that you will rarely hear in a busy clinic waiting room. Imagine this. It is 3 in the morning. Your home is completely still. You finally sank into that deep, heavy, restorative sleep, the kind your brain desperately needs. And then the signal comes. It is faint at first, hovering at the edge of your awareness. You try to roll over, you try to ignore it, but the pressure builds relentlessly. Defeated, you throw back the covers, drop your feet onto the cold floor, and shuffle down the hallway like a zombie. You squint against the harsh bathroom light, do what you came to do, and return to bed. But sleep is gone. Your mind starts racing. Work, finances, family stress. You lie there staring at the ceiling for an hour. You finally drift off, only for the cycle to repeat. By morning, you are completely shattered. Your head feels heavy, your energy is drained, and you rely on caffeine all day just to function. I see this exact sequence in the eyes of hundreds of patients who walk into my practice, and almost every single one of them says the same resigned phrase, "Dr. Isaac, what can you do? It is just age." Everybody gets up at night. Let me be entirely direct with you. That is a myth. It is a dangerous illusion, and we need to shatter it right now. Getting up repeatedly at night to relieve yourself is not normal. Not at 40, not at 50, not at 70. A healthy human body is simply engineered differently. At night, a healthy brain produces a specific hormone called anti-diuretic hormone, also known as vasopressin. Think of this hormone as a factory manager sending an urgent memo to your kidneys. Halt production. We are on the night shift. Concentrate the fluid, reduce the volume, and run in strict economy mode. That specific biological mechanism is precisely what allows a healthy individual to sleep 7 or 8 hours straight without a single interruption. When that mechanism breaks down, it is not a minor inconvenience. Medically, this condition is known as nocturia. If you wake up once a night, your body is flashing a yellow warning signal. If you wake up twice or more, a blaring red alarm is going off. Why? Because every single time you wake up, your pulse jumps, your blood pressure spikes, and you violently interrupt the deepest phases of your sleep cycle. This is the critical phase where your brain clears out metabolic waste products, where your neurons repair themselves, and where your cardiovascular system genuinely rests. Losing this phase year after year is a direct highway to hypertension, mood imbalances, and accelerated aging of the brain. Clinical research demonstrates that this specific nighttime disruption stresses the heart faster than many other known lifestyle risks. That is not an exaggeration. It is pure, published clinical data. Here is the most important concept I want you to grasp today. When patients come to me with this issue, most have already diagnosed themselves. Men tell me, "Dr. Isaac, it is my prostate. I read about it." Women tell me it is menopause or a weak pelvic floor or just chronic irritation. They have spent hundreds of dollars on herbal teas, daily supplements, and targeted vitamins. They restrict their water intake so aggressively that their mouths are parched by evening. They stop drinking anything after 6 p.m., go to bed completely dehydrated, and yet they still wake up at 3 hours in the morning. Why is this happening? Because they are aggressively fighting the symptom, entirely missing the cause. Let me explain this using a simple, undeniable logic. Imagine the fire alarm in your home goes off at midnight. What do most people do in this medical scenario? They put tape over the sensor so it stops making noise. The correct logical response is to find where the fire is burning. Your bladder is simply the sensor. It is a reservoir doing exactly what it was designed to do, emptying what gets put into it. The real problem is not the reservoir itself. The problem is understanding who is filling it during the night and why. The answer will genuinely shock you. The primary culprits are your legs and your heart. But before we dive into the fascinating mechanics of your circulatory system, I must give you a critical medical disclaimer based on my years of clinical experience. There are specific red flags that should send you straight to a local specialist, not to a YouTube video. First, if you notice a dark reddish or brownish tint in your fluid output and there is absolutely no pain. Remember this combination. Pain plus discoloration often points to a stone or acute irritation, miserable but rarely life-threatening. However, painless, visible discoloration in the bowl is a serious early warning sign that requires immediate medical scoping of the bladder. Do not wait. Second, deep skeletal aches in your pelvis or lower back combined with sudden, unexplained weight loss. If you have dropped 10 to 20 pounds over 2 months without changing your diet, and you are waking up constantly at night, that pattern demands urgent professional imaging. If neither of those apply to you, take a deep breath. You are going to be fine, but your quality of life is on the line, and to reclaim it, we must identify exactly what is malfunctioning in your system. In the medical field, nighttime fluid overproduction divides into 3 fundamentally different types. Treating the wrong type will guarantee you see 0 results. The 3 types of disruption. Type 1. Global polyuria. This means your body is simply producing too much fluid around the clock. You go frequently during the day and you go frequently at night with massive volumes each time. If you measured your 24-hour output, you might see 3 to 4 liters. The causes are usually straightforward. Either you are drinking an enormous, unnecessary amount of water all day, or you are dealing with blood sugar imbalances. When blood glucose is high, it acts as an osmotic force, dragging water out of your cells and into your output. If your output is constantly pale and high volume day and night, you need a blood sugar check. Type 2. Nocturnal polyuria, the silent epidemic. This is the most insidious type, affecting up to 70% of people over the age of 50. During the day, you feel completely normal. You go about your business, visiting the restroom every 4 or 5 hours. But the exact moment you lie down for the night, the nightmare begins. 3 or 4 trips, large volumes every time. You wonder, where did 1.5 liters of fluid come from? I only had half a glass of water. In this scenario, your kidneys have literally inverted their schedule. They are resting during the day and working at 200% capacity at night. The bladder has nothing to do with it. Type 3. The reservoir problem. This is the opposite of type 2. The urges are sudden, aggressive, and highly frequent. But when you rush to the restroom, almost nothing comes out, just a tiny amount. 40 minutes later, the exact same urgent storm hits. Here, the bladder itself has lost its ability to stretch smoothly, or its nerve endings have become hypersensitive, firing an alarm when it is only 15% full. Anatoli's story. To understand how to fix type 2, the most common issue, I want you to meet one of my patients. We will call him Anatoli. He is a robust, 54-year-old man who rarely complains. But he walked into my office absolutely desperate, carrying a thick folder of ultrasound reports and blood tests. "Dr. Isaac," he pleaded, "do something. I am losing my mind." He laid out a timeline of torture. First, he woke up once a night. 6 months later, it was 4 or 5 times. He bought every highly marketed supplement available. He cut his fluid intake entirely by the late afternoon. Yet, at 2 a.m., he would release half a liter. At 4 a.m., another half liter. I looked at his lab work. His screening markers were perfectly normal. From a targeted pelvic perspective, he was healthy. So I stopped asking about his bathroom habits and started asking about his daily life. "Do you ever feel a little breathless climbing stairs?" I asked. He nodded. "A bit. I have to catch my breath. When you take your socks off in the evening, is there a deep groove left in your skin?" He looked surprised. "Yes, a noticeable indentation. But doesn't everyone have that?" At that exact moment, the puzzle was solved. I told him, "Anatoli, throw out the pelvic supplements. You don't need them. I am sending you to a cardiologist." He thought I was crazy, but he listened. The specialists found the true fire. Anatoli had early-stage hidden cardiovascular fatigue. During the day, his heart could not perfectly circulate his blood volume against gravity, so fluid was pooling silently in his lower legs. The physics of your body. The physics. Let me explain the brilliant yet frustrating physics of what happens to your body. Imagine a plastic bottle half filled with water. Standing up, the water sits at the bottom. Lay it flat, and the water distributes evenly. For 16 hours a day, you are vertical. Gravity forces blood, lymphatic fluid, and cellular water downward toward your feet and ankles. When we are young, our leg veins are like strong, tight elastic bands. The valves inside them snap shut, preventing fluid from dropping back down. But with age or long hours sitting at a desk, these valves weaken. Fluid quietly seeps through the vessel walls into the soft tissues of your calves. By the time you sit down to watch TV in the evening, your lower legs could be holding up to 1.5 liters of hidden water. Your kidneys cannot filter this water because it is trapped outside the active bloodstream. Then you go to bed. You lie flat. Suddenly, your legs are completely level with your heart. Gravity is no longer trapping that fluid down below. That massive reserve of water rapidly re-enters your bloodstream, rushing toward your chest. It is the biological equivalent of receiving a large intravenous fluid drip right as you fall asleep. Your heart senses this sudden, massive surge in blood volume. The right atrium stretches. To protect itself from pressure overload, your heart fires off a chemical messenger, a hormone called atrial natriuretic peptide, ANP. This hormone races to the kidneys with an emergency command. Dump the excess fluid immediately or the system will fail. Your kidneys kick into overdrive. Within an hour, your bladder is completely full. You wake up, empty it, and return to bed. But the fluid from your legs is still draining. 2 hours later, the cycle repeats. You are, quite literally, drinking through your legs. The diagnostics. You do not need an MRI to check for this. You need your hands. Test 1, the shin test. Sit down and expose your lower leg. Find your shin bone, the hard surface on the front of your leg. Press the pad of your thumb firmly against the bone about 5 inches above your ankle. Hold it for 15 seconds. Remove your thumb. If your skin springs back flat instantly, you are clear. If you leave a noticeable pit or dent that takes seconds to fill in, you have hidden fluid pooling. Test 2, the volume diary. For one 24-hour period, measure your output. If more than 33% of your total daily volume happens during the night, including the first morning trip, your kidneys are running on a night shift, the dietary villains. If you want to stop this, you must control what acts as a delayed trigger for your kidneys. Hidden sodium. Most of us don't use the salt shaker heavily, but we eat processed cheese, cured meats, and packaged breads. Sodium acts as a microscopic magnet for water. Eat a salty meal at 7 p.m., and your body hoards water to dilute the salt. By midnight, your kidneys recognize the excess sodium and aggressively flush it out, taking massive amounts of water with it. Evening sugar. A late-night sweet snack spikes your blood glucose. Your body releases insulin, which signals the kidneys to retain water temporarily. A few hours later, when blood sugar crashes during sleep, the kidneys release the floodgates. Sugar is an osmotic diuretic. The nightcap deception. A small glass of alcohol before bed might help you fall asleep because it sedates your nervous system, but it completely paralyzes the production of the vasopressin hormone we discussed earlier. It shuts down the economy mode signal to your kidneys. You might sleep through the first urge because you are sedated, but the bladder will overfill until the pain violently wakes you up. The Dietary Heroes Raw Green Pumpkin Seeds. This is the most underrated tool in nutritional science. Do not buy them roasted or salted. Raw pumpkin seeds are packed with highly bioavailable zinc and magnesium. Magnesium relaxes the smooth muscle of the bladder wall, allowing it to stretch comfortably and hold more volume before sending an urge signal. Pure cranberry, not the sugary juice cocktail. Real, unsweetened cranberry or high-quality extract contains proanthocyanidins. These molecules coat the inner lining of the bladder, calming microscopic inflammation and stopping the nerve endings from being hyperreactive. Dietary fiber. The anatomical reality is that a chronically full, bloated digestive tract physically crushes your bladder. They share a very tight space in the pelvis. When you consume adequate greens and fiber, your digestive tract stays clear, giving your bladder the physical room it needs to expand normally while you sleep. The Golden Protocol. This is what changed Anatoli's life, and it takes exactly 5 minutes a day. Phase 1. Morning activation. When you wake up, do not just walk to the kitchen. Stand barefoot. Rise up on your toes just 1 inch, then let your heels drop firmly to the floor. Do this 30 times. This is called vibrational lymphatic drainage. The mechanical impact physically shakes your venous valves awake, activating the muscle pump in your calves and preventing fluid accumulation before the day even begins. Phase 2. The daytime waterfall. Shift your fluid intake entirely. 70% of your daily hydration must happen before 4 p.m. Drink heavily in the morning and early afternoon. After 4 p.m., you transition to small sips just to quench dry mouth. Also, remove the salt shaker from your dining table. This alone drops unnecessary sodium intake by 30%. Phase 3. The lazy elevation, the master key. 1 hour before bed, while you are reading or watching a show, lie flat on your back on the floor or couch. Elevate your legs on a stack of pillows, the armrest, or against the wall. The only rule is that your heels must be higher than your heart. An angle of 45 degrees is perfect. Stay there for 15 to 20 minutes. Gravity is now working for you. It drains the trapped fluid from your legs back into your core while you are awake. Your heart senses the fluid, releases the hormone, and your kidneys process the water. 30 minutes later, you will use the restroom and eliminate 400 milliliters of fluid, the exact fluid that would have woken you up at 3 a.m. You are giving your kidneys their workload on your schedule. Phase 4. The internal lock. When you are finally in bed with the lights out, perform 20 to 30 pelvic floor contractions. Most people do this wrong by clenching their glutes or abs. Imagine the internal muscles you use to stop the flow of fluid. Pull those muscles upward gently, hold for 3 seconds, and release. This neurological repetition signals the brain that the system is tight and secure, calming the overactive nerve responses of the bladder. The reality check. Anatoli followed this exact protocol. He dropped the evening processed meats. He elevated his legs. He did his morning heel drops. 1 week later, he came back to my office and whispered, "Dr. Isaac, I only woke up once last night, just once." A month later, he was sleeping soundly until his alarm rang. His cardiologist was thrilled because the nighttime strain on his heart had vanished. Your body is not broken. Your bladder is not your enemy. It is a highly intelligent warning system. Now you possess the physiological knowledge to turn the alarm off by putting out the actual fire. Your age plays a massive role in how quickly your veins lose elasticity. I want you to go down to the comments right now and type your age. I read the data and it helps me tailor the exact medical deep dives I will create for this community next. You do not need a prescription to start this tonight. You just need discipline and an understanding of your own anatomy. The corporate medical machine profits from managing your exhaustion. I profit when you learn to heal yourself and never need to walk into my clinic again. If that philosophy resonates with you, subscribe to Dr. Isaac, share this video with someone who looks exhausted every morning, and take control of your biology tonight.